talking about rock and talking about the Grammys, there's always constant criticism of the Grammys around Grammy time when it comes to the rock scene. Oh, once again, the Grammys are neglecting rock bands. Barely any bands up there. They got the token Foo Fighters on stage again. Whoop-de-doo. Talk about rock and the Grammys. Is there really a neglect there? Is it a concerted effort to say, you know what, they're not mainstream enough? Or is it just that the music isn't good enough?
Well, I would never say it's not. It's not that the music is not good enough. It is that there are trends about what is dominant in the culture, and I am a rock guy. I mean, in a broad sense, but that's the core of what I listen to. It's very important to me. I understand some of the criticism. Some of it is completely inappropriate and just not true. Like last year, like Eddie Van Halen was a friend of mine. I wrote a cover story on him. I worked with him on a book that he wanted to do at one point. I saw him a year before he died. I was at the house. I loved him. He told me how great Wolfgang was. When he passed, we just, again, that's an example. We were criticized for only showing a film clip of him doing Eruption last
And you
year.
had the Frankenstein on stage, I think.
And yes, and I will say that was my push. And what happened was we went and said to the family, to the estate, what we have these people who could perform something. If Wolfgang wants to do something, he can do that. Tell us what you would be comfortable with. Because that was, and again, he was a guy I knew and really liked, and who was great to me. They said no one should perform it. That was a very absolutely, there was not like they wanted to say only if you can get so-and-so. It was, they didn't want anyone. So we had to find video. And just to show you how tough this stuff can get, there is very little footage of Van Halen. They did not exploit their catalog, barely at all. There was not that many video releases. I literally had to personally research that the US Festival, which was one of the heights of their
performance,
them at their height. I had to find out now that the US Festival was only available for like an hour and a half on something. We had to find the rights to use, and I wanted to use Eruption because it was the family's desire not to have something with a vocal, to choose Sammy or who's a friend, or David, who I knew for a while and who's those are
showcase Edward.
Yeah, it was to showcase Edward. So that's what we did. And yet there was criticism, and it was frustrating to me. I will tell you, I'm not good friends with him, but I know Eddie Trunk, and we're friendly. And knowing that people might think that, I personally sent him a private message on Twitter, just so you know, this was the family's wishes that it be. And he, of course, completely ignored that, and I think led the sort of charge on attacking the Grammy. So we are not above criticism. I am often the guy pushing, and not all, whether it's my first idea I ever had working on the Grammys, this was like 100 years ago, was when Joe Strummer from The Clash died. I and Ken Ehrlich, but I suggested that we do London Calling with Bruce Springsteen, with Elvis Costello, with the guy from No Doubt, with Little Steven. And from that to AC/DC, some of my happiest moments were rock and roll bands. And obviously, but the reality is, who do you put on that has the sort of mainstream TVQ appeal? And often that's why people rightly say, why is it always the Foo Fighters? And it's because the Foo Fighters have carried that flag rather well. And they have that tied to Nirvana. It's like literally part of the lineage of the rock, So it's a complicated issue, and I'm not happy. I wish there was more, but it's not. But when people say the Grammys hate rock and roll, believe me, that is not true.